So this is the last section of the Bhagavad Gita, the last 6 chapters, which are essentially speaking on the topic of Gyan. So what is the important goal of the Gyanis? Hmm? Okay, that's true. But what is the main goal? Liberation. So liberation is the goal, mukti. And of course, their understanding of mukti is ayuja. But their main goal is liberation. So liberation means coming out of miseries. So if one wants to come out of miseries, one has to come out of the influence of 3 modes. So liberation means coming out of the influence of 3 modes. And so that's the main subject matter that's being discussed in this section. How to become liberated from the influence of 3 modes. So is it relevant for us or no? Or somebody may think that it's only for Gyanis. So why it's relevant for us? Correct. So yes, so we also have to transcend the influence of 3 modes, come to Sattva, then transcend even that. So therefore it's applicable for us also. Of course, the method of transcending the modes may be different, but then we also have to do this. But for the Gyanis, that is the goal. But for the Bhaktas, is the goal only transcending the modes? What's the goal? Huh. So Krishna Prem, serving Krishna, that's our goal. So we go above. Of course, the real definition of mukti is given by the Bhagavatam. What is that? Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavastiti. So that is also mukti. So that's the proper understanding of mukti, Vaishnava understanding. Okay, so now why is Arjuna asking these questions? How many questions he's asking? Huh? Yes, so why is asking these 6 questions at this point? What is the connection? थोड़ा देख लो सोच लो. Okay, any thoughts?
First details about devotional security is trying to give a scope for everyone. So, since scope is there for everyone, so Krishna exclusively described about those who are like pure devotees. What are the qualifications? But what about the others? So that's why Krishna Arjuna is asking these questions.
Okay.
Krishna spoke in second chapter that Dehi nosmi neta Dehi, and how soul changes one body to another and how it grows from youth to old age.
So you're telling connection second chapter. Direct jump second to 13. Okay.
Arjuna wants the answer elaborately. So
Which answer?
what is the field?
अच्छा,
The
ठीक है.
क्षेत्रज्ञ.
हाँ, इनको दो उज्जवल ने.
Speculation just.
हाँ, everyone is doing speculation.
Because of his compassion for the living entities, he's asking.
The whole Bhagavad Gita is for that only.
So also in the last chapter, Arjuna, the Lord says that who is equal in all conditions, whether in honor, dishonor, heat and cold. So therefore he wants to know about the constitution of nature. So what is it, how we can reach to that goal by understanding the Prakriti.
ठीक है. Any other speculations? Oh, online. Today there's big crowd online.
Praji, once I heard one thing that in the middle sixth chapter, Krishna is speaking about Bhagavad Gita. I mean the Bhakti as the main conclusion, and so the next sixth chapter about Jnana, he is mentioning to like protect that Bhakti. And like some of the principles from this will be very much helpful even in the practice of Bhakti. Just like just now you mentioned that how it is relevant for us also to know and understand and go above the three modes. So for that.
Okay, fine. Anybody else online?
Hare Krishna, Broji. Shubham here. Dandavat Pranam, Broji.
हाँ बोलिए. कौन है?
Shubham here, Broji. So
हाँ
Shubham.
शुभम. हाँ बोलिए.
तो प्रोजी मैंने भी सुना था कि लेक्चर्स में कि जो एक्चुअली जो भगवत गीता बोलनी थी बोल चुके हैं भगवान, जो भी उनको गुहितम ज्ञान और बाकी चीजें बतानी थी. अब जो रह गया है तो एलेबोरेशन है, क्योंकि डिटेल्स भी इम्पोर्टेंट है ताकि कोई उसको अपने हिसाब से इंटरप्रेट ना करे. तो जैसे हम देखते हैं 3 मोड्स ऑफ मटेरियल नेचर, एवरीथिंग अबाउट प्रकृति, फिर जो 3 मोड्स में वर्क कैसे होता है, क्योंकि 3 मोड्स के बारे में पहले भी भगवान बोल चुके हैं कि कैसे ज्ञान बियॉन्ड है. तो दैट्स व्हाट आई हर्ड कि उसका एलेबोरेशन है. बाकी जो नेक्स्ट ज्ञान योग है चैप्टर्स है जो, दैट्स व्हाट आई.
Whom did you hear? That is the question.
yes.
But anyway, okay. So author more elaboration on some subjects. ठीक है.
जैसे सेकंड चैप्टर में सांख्य योग पहले ही दे दिया था, बट फर्दर इसको उतना ज्यादा डिटेल में डिस्कस किया है यहाँ पे कि क्या क्या है एग्जैक्टली.
ठीक है. So let's hear from authoritative sources. So this is overview of the chapter. Kshetra, Kshetrajna 1 to 7, Pros of Knowledge 8 to 12, Object of Knowledge 13 to 19, Prakriti Purusha in the Union 2026, Jnana Chakshusha, the Vision of Knowledge 27 to 35. So the first section. Okay, please read.
Let me offer my respect to the Lord's Bhakti, which by its mercy resides within Jnana and other processes to a small degree in order to bring about success in those processes. In the last 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, Jnana mixed with Bhakti is delineated. Within these 6 chapters, Kevala Bhakti also is shown indirectly to the Supreme. In the 13th chapter, the body where Jiva and Paramatma resides, the practice of Jnana, the Jiva, and Bhakti are described.
Prakriti.
Yes. In the middle 6 chapters, it was mentioned that by Kevala Bhakti, one attains the Lord, Bhagwan, and 3 other methods of worship, starting with worship of oneself, were then described. Liberation arising from jnana mixed with bhakti, thus practiced by followers of Niskama Karma Yoga, and the process of jnana were briefly described in the first 6 chapters. The third 6 chapters explain this jnana in details by first examining the field, the knower of the field, the process of knowledge, and the object of knowledge. This verse answer the questions. What is the
Oh,
field?
sorry. This is the next verse. Okay, so basically, so he here he does give a connection with the first 6 chapters. So he says liberation arising from Gyan mixed with Bhakti, practiced by followers of Nishkam Karma Yoga, and the process of Gyan were briefly described in the first 6 chapters. Right? In the first 6 chapters, the process of Gyan Yoga, Gyan mixed with Bhakti. So that was described in the first 6 chapters because Nishkam Karma Yoga leads to Gyan. So that was specifically described in which chapters? So mainly in third chapter, he begins the discussion of Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then in fourth chapter, fifth chapter, he describes more about Gyan, and fifth chapter especially is talking about the symptoms of Gyani. And so therefore, here again, he's further discussing this subject of Gyan. But other acharyas also do mention some other connections. One connection which is mentioned is from the 12th chapter. So we saw yesterday in 12th chapter, 12th verse. So Krishna says, okay, if you cannot directly practice bhakti, then follow the indirect process. Follow the indirect process. So therefore, Arjuna feels that I'm not qualified directly for bhakti. So therefore, let me follow the indirect process. So let me slowly go step by step. So let me first come to the platform of Gyan, then from Gyan to Dhyan, and then to Bhakti. So therefore, Arjuna is taking a humble position and he wants to go by the indirect process. So therefore, he's first of all talking about, he first of all wants to go through the process of Gyan, and therefore he is asking these various questions. So there's one connection that's told. Right. So basically, these two connections we can talk about. So one connection is from the first 6 chapters, and this other connection is from the 12th chapter. Okay. So let's now let's go to these verses. So basically, Arjuna is asking these 6 questions. He's asking about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, Gneyam. These 6 questions he's asking. So even though Arjuna first asked about Prakriti and Purusha, Krishna doesn't answer these questions in the same order. But first he is describing Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So he describes first Kshetra, Kshetrajna, then Jnanam, Gneyam, and then finally Prakriti Purusha. Why? Because Prakriti Purusha, these are little complicated topics. So therefore Krishna thought better to answer easy question first. Others first only complicated questions, complicated answer, then student may get confused, right? Student may get frightened. So therefore, Krishna, let me answer the easy questions first, then the more complex subjects. So therefore, he begins with Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So Krishna is answering idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. Idam shariram. So this sharir is called as kshetra. And etadyo vetti tam prahu kshetragya. One who knows this kshetra, this body, is called as kshetragya. Okay. So now let's read some parts of the purport. So Prabhupada writes, when he inquired about all these, Krishna said that this body is called the field and that one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. This body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence and he attempts to lord it over material nature. And so according to his capacity to dominate material nature, he gets a field of activity. That field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification. According to his capacity to enjoy sense gratification, is offered a body or field of activity. Therefore, the body is called Kshetra, or the field of activity for the conditioned soul. Now, the person who identifies himself with the body is called Kshetragya, the knower of the field. Okay? So, the field of activity is the body. What is the body? Body is made up of senses. And the person who identifies himself with the body is called Kshetragya. That means the conditioned soul who thinks himself to be the body is Kshetragya. Okay, this is one understanding. But then even if one does not misidentify with the body, but he knows that I am separate from the body, he is also called Kshetragya. So either in the conditioned state or the liberated state. So in the conditioned state, also the person, he may not understand that I'm separate from the body, but still he knows about his body. Correct? He may not know that I'm spirit soul, separate from the body, but still he knows about his body. So he is also called Kshetragya. And the liberated soul who perfectly understands that I'm separate from the body, I'm spirit soul. So he is also called Kshetragya. And then Srila Prabhupada is explaining the difference between body and soul, Deyanosman Yatha Deya and all that. Okay, now let's read something from here. Okay, read.
This verse answers the question, what is the field and who is the knower of the field? This body with senses, the abode of enjoyment, is the field, since it is the basis for sprouting the tree of repeated births. He who knows that body in terms of I and mine in the conditioned state due to his attachment to that body, and he who, being devoid of the conception of I and mine in the liberated state, knows that he is not attached to that body, is the jiva. He is called the knower of the field, situated in these two conditions. Like one who plow the field, he is the knower of the field and is the enjoyer of the fruit.
Okay, so here it's clear that either in the liberated state or in the conditioned state, in both states, the jiva is Kshetragya. So in the conditioned state, he is attached to his body, but still he knows his body. And in the liberated state, he knows that he's separate from the body, but still he knows his body. He knows that I am separate from the body. So in both cases, he's called as Kshetragya. And why is the body called Kshetra? So just like Kshetra, Kshetra matlab field, खेत. तो किसान क्या करता है? प्लाउइंग, जोतता है उसको. फिर हाँ. So he gets the fruits. So similarly, with this body, what do we do? Activities. And is it the result of activities? What is that fruit? What is the fruit?
Happiness.
Another?
Sukha dukkha. Sukha dukkha. That is the fruit. So that is why this body is compared to field. Okay, continue. ये स्क्रीन का पोजीशन गलत है यहाँ पे, हाँ? हाँ, सब जगह वैसे ही है। अच्छा,
The Lord says, Adanti chaikam phalam asya gridra grame chara ekam aranya vasah hamsa ya ekam bahurupam ijjer maya mayam vedasa veda vedam. Those lusty after the material enjoyment and dedicated to family life enjoy one of the tree's fruits, and swan like man in the renounced order of life enjoy the other fruit. One who, with the help of the bona fide spiritual masters, can understand this tree to be a manifestation of the potency of the one supreme truth, appearing in many forms, actually knows the meaning of the Vedic literature. Bhagavatam 11.12.23. The meaning of this verse from Bhagavatam is as follows. Gridra means those who desire. Those who have desire and who move in society, the conditioned jivas, eat one fruit of the tree called distress, because the tree has the ability to generate distress, even with its ripened fruits of Swarga. The swans, which live in the forest, the liberated jivas, eat another fruit called happiness, because the tree has ability to generate happiness in the form of liberation. Thus, the one of the tree of samsara has many forms, since it has the capacity to let one attain hell, swarga, and liberation. It is called Maya Mayam, made of Maya, because it is generated from the Lord's Maya Sakti. He who knows this tree with the help of the worshipable Guru, EJ, knows the Vedas.
right. So here is explaining that verse from the 11th canto. And so he says that it's all based on desire. Grudra means those who desire. So based upon one's desire, with the same body, one can get Swarga, Naraka, or Mukti. One can get any of this with the same body. It all depends on, yes, our own desire. It depends on the desire and then our actions on the basis of that desire. So the conditioned souls, then he says they eat one fruit of the tree called distress, because the tree is able to give both happiness and distress. And the liberated souls, they enjoy the fruit called happiness in the form of liberation. So this tree is called Maya Mayam, made of Maya, because generated from the Lord's Maya Shakti. Okay, so now Srila Prabhupada explains the same thing in his lectures in a very simple way, the same concept. Okay, read.
Kshetra means the field or the land. You in the land, by tilling the land, by cultivating the land, you can produce nice grain also, and inferior grain also as you work, because the land is in your possession. You can cultivate as you like. Similarly, this body is land and I am the tiller. I am the krishak or agriculturist. So by using the land, I can become spiritually advanced or I can become materially advanced. It is up to me. Spiritually advanced means gradually you forget that I am this material body. I am Krishna's, I am Brahman. That is spiritually advanced. And materially advanced means I am this body. I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm Brahman, I'm Kshatriya, I'm man, woman. This is materially advanced both ways.
Yes, so one can either make spiritual progress or material progress with the same body. So it depends on us. So that is why it is called a Kshetra. What we want to grow from this field depends on us. Okay, third verse. Kshetram Kshetragyam chapi mam viddi sarvashetreshu bharata Kshetra Kshetragnayor jnanam yattaj jnanam matam mama. Post kind of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Okay, read the purport.
But while discussing the subject of the body and the knower of the body, the soul and the super soul, we shall find three different topics of study: the Lord, the living entities, and matter. In every field of activities, in every body, there are two souls, the individual soul and the super soul, because the super soul is the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna says, I am also the knower, but I am not the individual knower of the body. I am the super knower. I am present in everybody as the Paramatma or super soul. One who studies the subject matter of the field of the activities and the knower of the field very maturely. In terms of this, Bhagavad Gita can attain to knowledge. The Lord says, I am the knower of the field of the activities in every individual body. The individual may be knower of their own body, but he is not the knowledge of other bodies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present as the Super Soul in all bodies, knows everything about all bodies. He knows all the different bodies of all the various species of life. A citizen may know everything about his path of
Right.
land, but the king knows not only his place, but all
Palace.
palace, but all the properties processed by the individual citizens. Similarly, one may be the proprietor of the body individually, but the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of the all bodies. The king is the original proprietor of the kingdom, and the citizen is the secondary proprietor. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the supreme proprietor of all bodies.
Okay. So here Krishna is saying that Kshetragyam cha api mam. There is one more Kshetragya. In the previous verse, he said, one Kshetragya is Jivatma. So here he says, there's one more Kshetragya. And who's that? Mam. Mam. I am also the Kshetragya. But what is the difference? Yes. So the Super Soul knows all the bodies. So Srila Prabhupada explains in his lecture. So I do not know what is happening in your body, nor do I know what you are thinking. And what you are thinking. I do not know where each one's mind is. So I can know something about myself. I cannot know some about others. But Krishna knows about all the bodies. So therefore, he's given an example of the citizen knows his own land, but the king knows all the lands. So similarly, the Supreme Lord is the supreme proprietor of all the bodies. Okay. Now, further down in the next paragraph, the distinction between the field of activities, the knower of activities, and the supreme knower of activities is described as follows. Perfect knowledge of the constitution of the body, the constitution of the individual soul, and the constitution of the super soul is known in terms of Vedic literature as Gyan. Okay, so this is a definition of Gyan. Please remember. Perfect knowledge of constitution of the body, constitution of the individual soul, constitution of super soul is called as Gyan. And that's what Krishna is saying. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragnayor jnanam. So the knowledge of kshetra and kshetragya. So both the kshetragnyas. Both the kshetragnyas. So understanding kshetra and both the kshetragnyas is called as jnanam. Yat taj jnanam matam mama. Krishna says, this is my opinion. According to my opinion, what is knowledge? Knowing the body and the two knowers of the body. That is called as jnanam. So real jnana is not some PhD or MSc in physics, biology. So that is not real jnanam. So this is real jnanam according to Krishna's opinion. So many others may have their own opinion. So why Krishna is saying this is my opinion? Why specifically is saying this is my opinion? So if it is ultimate, why to say that this is my opinion?
Prabhuji, Guru Sadhu Shastra, he wants to emphasize on this principle.
Huh?
Others also agree.
Right. Yes. So because there is also opinion of Guru and Sadhu. So of course he's playing the role of Guru, but there can also be opinion of Shastra and Sadhu. And so therefore he's playing the role of the Guru and he's saying this is my opinion. But then we have to understand Krishna's opinion is the ultimate opinion. There cannot be any other opinion beyond that. But still, he is, as we will see in the later verses also, that he always keeps this Siddhanta of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Okay. Now further down he says, that is the opinion of Krishna. To understand both the soul and the super soul as one, yet distinct, is knowledge. One who does not understand the field of activity and the knower of activity is not in perfect knowledge. One has to understand the position of Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer of nature, and Ishvara, the knower who dominates or controls nature and the individual soul. One should not confuse the three in their different capacities. One should not confuse the painter, the painting, and the easel. So to explain Prakriti, Purusha, and Ishvara, he's giving an analogy of painter, painting, and the easel. Easel means जो जिस पर painting किया जाता है. Okay, so what is the comparison? Who is compared to painter, painting, easel? Easel is a body. ठीक है? See, you have to do match the following. There are three things are Prakriti, Purusha, Ishvara, and painter, painting, easel. Painter is Ishvara. Painting is Prakriti. There is Prakriti, Purusha, and Ishvara. Purusha refers to, yes, the Jivatma, who thinks himself to be the Purusha, the enjoyer. So basically there is Prakriti, Jivatma, and Paramatma. Okay, so painter is? Huh? Okay, painter is Ishvara, that means Paramatma. ठीक है. Then?
Prabhuji,
बाकी तो क्या?
Jiva is also painter.
Jiva is also painter.
Yes.
Then there will be competition between both the painters.
Yeah, Prabhuji. If we align, then it remains good. Otherwise, it's a challenge in material world.
अभी तीन चीज यहाँ तीन चीज है, वहां भी तीन चीज है, तो ओवरलैप कैसे हो सकता है? हाँ, अरे सोचो ना थोड़ा. ऑनलाइन
Yes, Prajit.
Depends upon
Thinking.
Prabhuji, the consciousness. Where is consciousness is lying? It depends upon his consciousness.
whose consciousness?
The individual soul.
Huh?
Whether he is a conscious of Paramatma, or he is a conscious, his consciousness is in body, or he is in himself. It depends upon that.
Easel is the Purusha. हाँ.
Prabhuji, the painter is Purusha and the easel is, I mean the easel is the Ishvara and Prakriti is the painting.
क्या speculation चल रहा है? Hey, you have to give a logical answer, Baba. Whatever you say, you have to explain the logic behind it. Though, okay. Okay. अरे एक जन बोलो, एक जन बोलो. Painter is Ishvara. Why? Why? हाँ.
And painting is the jiva.
Painting is the jiva.
Because that is Lord is is doing the painting through the easel, and the painting is the outcome.
Mm.
Therefore, the painter is this Iswara,
Mm.
and easel is the Prakriti through which he is painting, and the and ultimate painting is the outcome, which is the Jiva, the body.
Yes, that's correct. So basically, the painter is the Ishvara because, yes, he is in full control. And so the painting, which is, you can say, an expansion of the painter, correct? The painting is an expansion of the painter. It is his work, his byproduct. So similarly, Mamaivamsho Jivaloki, Amsha. The Amsha of the Supreme Lord is Jiva. So therefore, the painting is like Amsha of the Amshi, and that is the Supreme Lord. So therefore, the Jiva is the painting. And where are the Jivas located? In the Prakriti. Just like where is the painting situated? On the easel or the canvas. So that is why that easel is the Prakriti in which the Jivas are situated. Okay, so that's the analogy. So one should not confuse all these three. This material world, which is a field of activities, is nature, and the enjoyer of nature is the living entity, and above them both is the supreme controller, the personality of Godheads. It's stated in the Vedic language, in the Shvetashwar Upanishad, Bhokta Bhogyam Preritam Cha Matva Sarvam Proktam Trividham Brahmam Etat. There are three Brahman conceptions. Prakriti is Brahman as the field of activities. Jiva is also Brahman and is trying to control material nature. And the controller of both of them is also Brahman, but is a fractional controller. So you see, the word Brahman is used for everything. And therefore, the word Brahman puts many people in Brahma. Because the word Brahman is common for everything. So Brahman means that which is connected to spirit, spiritual. So that is Brahman. Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. So therefore, everything is Brahman. The Supreme Lord is Brahman. He is Supreme Spirit. The Jiva is also Brahman because he is also Spirit. And the material nature is also Brahman because it is coming from the Supreme Spirit. Correct? So therefore, everything is Brahman. So what is Brahman has to be decided according to the context in which it is being used. Otherwise, everything is Brahman. Huh? Okay, read the last paragraph. अरे लाइन में जा रहा है ना.
In this chapter, it will also be explained that out of the two knowers, one is fallible and other is infallible. One is superior and other is subordinate. One who understands the two knowers of the field to be one and the same contradicts the supreme personality of Godhead, who states here very clearly, I am also the knower of the field of activity. One who misunderstands a rope to be a serpent is not in knowledge. There are different kinds of bodies and there are different owners of the bodies because each individual soul has his individual capacity for lording it over material nature. There are different bodies, but the Supreme also is present in them as the controller. The word Cha is significant for it indicates the total number of bodies. That is the opinion of Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan. Krishna is a super soul present in each and every body apart from the individual soul. And Krishna explicitly says here that real knowledge is to know that the super soul is the controller of both the field of activities and the finite enjoyer.
So the word cha is important because cha means also. That means there's one more. There is one Kshetrajna, that is Jivatma, and there is also one more Kshetrajna. So therefore it properly indicates the number. Also means one more. और एक भी है. और वो कौन है? Mam. Krishna is saying Mam. So the super soul. So therefore there are two Kshetrajnas, very distinct and clear. And Srila Prabhupada explaining, one is fallible and the other is infallible. One is superior, other is subordinate. So there's a difference between these two Kshetrajnas. Both of them are not the same. Now, why does Prabhupada insert this statement here, this analogy? One who misunderstands a rope to be a serpent is not in knowledge. Why he puts this statement here? Bolo?
Like one sometimes may confuse between Paramatma and Jivatma to be same. So in that context, Prabhupada says rope and snake, since they are different, so one should not confuse between Paramatma and Jivatma to be same, because they both are Kshetrajnas.
So what is this analogy of rope and serpent?
Mayavad.
So what is their understanding?
If we understand the rope to be like a snake, so that is a illusion that we are countering. But what Vaishnava says, the fact that you misunderstood.
So
the
what
rope.
is the rope and what is the serpent? It's an analogy, right? So what does the rope represent and what does the snake represent?
Rope.
Right.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
हाँ, कौन बोल रहा है? हाँ, बोलो.
प्रभु जी the like there is a this matter and spirit.
आगे क्या हो गया मैटर स्पिरिट?
प्रभु जी रोप का चल रहा है ना.
हाँ, बोलो ना. रोप क्या है, सर्प क्या है?
प्रभु जी किसी एक को भी मान लो, अभी आप एक को मैटर को रोप बोलते हो और स्पिरिट को स्नेक, बिकॉज स्नेक इज मूविंग इन दैट सेंस. सो इफ कंसीडरिंग आइदर आप रोप को मैं स्नेक समझता हूँ, स्नेक को मैं रोप समझता हूँ, दैट बोथ इज इल्यूजन, बट बोथ आर एग्जिस्टिंग. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं रोप को स्नेक समझता हूँ तो इसका मतलब नहीं कि स्नेक एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता.
Okay, so basically this rope serpent analogy is used by the Mayavadis to explain their philosophy, which is Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. That is their philosophy, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. So they say that, so actually the only thing that is Satya is Brahman. Only Brahman is Satya. This entire material world is Mithya, it is false. So it is just like mistaking a rope to be a serpent. लेकिन वास्तव में नहीं है ना. So there is a rope. रस्सी है. So one is thinking rope to be serpent, but the serpent does not exist. Correct? So similarly, one is thinking the material world to be truth, but actually it is not the truth. It does not exist. So that is their philosophy. Material world, one is thinking that the material world is truth. But it is just like thinking the rope to be a serpent. But serpent does not exist. So similarly, one is thinking the material world to be truth, but no, it is not, it does not exist. So that is their philosophy. But then the fact is that, okay, the rope exists and the snake may not be here, but the snake also exists. It's not that the snake does not exist at all. So they are, according to their philosophy, what? Snake does not exist at all. one is imagining a rope to be a serpent, which does not exist at all. So therefore, it is simply false. But no, the snake does exist. The rope does exist, the snake does exist, but mistaking the rope to be snake is illusion. So therefore, the correct understanding is the material world is truth and the spiritual world is truth. Or the if you want to put it in this context of Jivatma and Paramatma, so Jivatma exists, Paramatma exists. Both are eternal truths. But what is an illusion? Yes, understanding both to be the same is illusion. So just like mistaking the rope to be snake is illusion, but rope also exists, snake also exists. So similarly, Jivatma exists, Paramatma exists. They say no, that is illusion. You're thinking Jivatma exists, which is separate from Paramatma. That is illusion. No, there is only one thing, and that is there is Brahman. That's all. There's only one thing, Brahman. There are no two things. Everything is one. Brahman. Yes, everything is Brahman, and that is Brahma. So therefore Prabhupada is quoting this. So thinking that there are two, rope and snake, there are two, correct? So thinking that there are two, that is illusion according to them. No, but what they are saying, no, this is illusion. You're thinking there is rope and serpent, two things, it's an illusion. Okay. There only thing that exists is rope. There is no snake at all. Only rope is there. There's no snake. So, but then we understand that yes, there's Jivatma, Paramatma. Mistaking the Jivatma to be Paramatma is illusion. Okay, that's why Prabhupada is quoting this analogy here. So anyway, Krishna is clarifying very clearly here. By using the word cha, he makes it very clear that there are two Kshetrajñas, not one. Okay, Prabhupada's lecture. Please read.
I am the kicking god.
You can actually hear this lecture. Everyone is laughing and laughing.
I am the kicking god. So how one can become god? Rascal. How one can become god? That is not possible. God knows everything. If one knows everything, then you can accept him as God. Otherwise, don't accept. As soon as somebody says, I am God, kick him on his face. Yes, you are God, I am God, and I am the kicking God. That should be the answer. I am the shoe beater God. Now, you protect yourself if you are God. Don't accept this false God.
So only Prabhupada can speak like this in public. Prabhupada is speaking in a lecture, recorded lecture, you can hear it. Okay. Now, in the fourth verse, Krishna gives some further information about the Kshetra and Kshetragya. Tat Kshetram yadrikcha yad vikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrino. Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, who the knower of the field of activities is, and what his influences are. So Krishna is saying that now please hear my brief description, Samasena. In summary, I'm going to tell you all these things about the Kshetra and Kshetragya. So he is saying what further things he's going to explain about the Kshetra and Kshetragya. That is what he's telling in this verse. So in Surrender Unto Me, Burjan Prabhu writes this. So what all things Krishna is going to speak about? So Krishna raises 5 points in this verse, which we will elaborate on later in this chapter. The first is how the body is constituted, that is yadrik. Yadrik. What is this kshetra constituted? Tat kshetram Yacha yadrik. So yadrik means what is this field, the kshetra, what is the field constituted of, how the body is constituted. And that is explained in the 6th verse that we will see. The second thing that is going to explain is what changes the body undergoes. That is vikari. Yad vikari. What changes the body undergoes. That is also explained in text 7 and text 20. Then how, when, and where the body is produced. How, when, where. So there are these words over here. Yach, yatha. So there is yat, and there is the 2 times yat is coming, and there is yatah. So basically, it indicates these 3 questions: how, when, and where. The body is produced. And the answer to this is in text 6, 21 and 22. The 4th is the identity of the knower of the field of activities. So here, the knower, yah, yes, yah, who, that indicates the knower of the field of activities. And the 5th one is the influence, prabhava, yat prabhava, the influence of the knower. So although Krishna will discuss these 5 points and address the remaining topics from text 2, he says he will explain them only in brief because they are limitless topics. However, should Arjuna wish to know them in greater detail, Krishna next tells Arjuna where such information can be found. Okay, so Krishna is saying here, Samasena, in summary, I'm going to describe to you these 5 things in the further verses, in the further descriptions. These 5 things I'll describe. But if you want to know more details beyond that, I'm going to give only summary. But if you want to know more details, then some reference books have to be told, no? If Arjuna wants to know more. So that's what he says in the next verse. So therefore, in the next verse, he's giving some references. And what is that? Rishibir Bahuda Gitam Chando Bir Vividhe Pratak Brahma Sutra Padai Shaiva Hetu Madbir Vinishite. That knowledge of the field of activities and the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially present in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effects. So here, Krishna is saying, you want to know more details? Then you go to the Rishis, Rishibi Bahuda Gitam. So the Rishis have described, so you can consult the Rishis. And you can also consult Chandobi. You can also consult the Vedic hymns or the Vedas, and especially Brahma Sutra, especially the Brahma Sutras, the Vedanta Sutras, you can consult for more information. Okay, please read the first paragraph.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the super soul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says, this is according to different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage. And in the Vedanta Sutra, duality is perfectly explained. And Vasudeva's father, Parashara, is also a great sage. And he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tvam Cha Tata Tatane. We, you, I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental, although in material bodies. Now we are fallen into the ways of the 3 modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are in a lower nature. The higher and lower natures exist due to ignorance and are being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. But the super soul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the three qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the soul, the super soul, and the body is made, especially in the Kathopanishad. There are many great sages who have explained this, and Parashara is considered principal among them. And the word Chandobi refers to the various Vedic literatures. The Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, which is a branch of the Yajurveda, describes nature, the living entity, and the supreme personality of Godhead.
Okay, fine. So here, is Krishna is referring to rishis and the Chandobi, the Shastras. The rishis refer to basically Vyasdev and his Vedanta Sutra, and also Parashar Muni. So he's referring to these authorities to explain this topic of the Jivatma and Paramatma. As Prabhupada writes, very controversial topic, because all the impersonalists, Mayavadis, the Mayavadis say, no, they're one, there's no difference. So therefore, Krishna also is giving reference to other authorities to prove his point that they're different, they're not one and the same. Now, to explain some details about the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, so Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas are referring to the Taittiriya Upanishad, next paragraph. As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetrajna, the individual living entity and the supreme living entity. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha, there is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, dependence upon food for existence. This is a materialistic realization of the Supreme. So these are 5 realizations of the Supreme. Or you could also say there are 5 levels of consciousness. Brahma Pucham. So Brahma refers to Brahman. So the realization of the Supreme Brahman. Brahma Pucham. So 5 realizations of the Supreme. Then in Pranamaya, after realizing the Supreme Absolute Truth in food, one can realize the Absolute Truth in the living symptoms of life, in the living symptoms of life forms. In Jnanamaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then there is Brahman realization called Vijnanmaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. And the next and the supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of the all blissful nature. Thus, there are 5 stages of Brahman realization, which are called Brahma Pucham. Out of these, the first 3, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, involve the field of activities of the living entities. Transcendent to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called Anandamaya. Now, Srila Prabhupada also describes this subject matter in Krishna book. Where in Krishna book? Anyone knows? Yes, that is the most philosophical part of the Krishna book, the prayers of the personified Vedas. So how many of you have read that chapter, prayers of the personified Vedas? Huh? Everyone read? Where? Acha, in Krishna book reading. That must have been read ritualistically. Huh?
Bhagavatam you have read too.
Acha. So anyways, actually it's a very wonderful chapter. Especially Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he describes very beautifully to understand that philosophy. And there are so many examples and analogies that Srila Prabhupada gives in that chapter. So those who are interested in philosophy is very good. So there, Srila Prabhupada is describing the same points. Annamaya to Anandamaya, Brahma Pucham Pratishta. Okay, read.
Annamaya, Anandamaya, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. Within the body, there are 5 different departments of existence known as Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and at last Anandamaya. These are enumerated in the Brahmananda Valli of the Taittiriya Upanishad. Annamaya. In the beginning of life, every living entity is food consciousness. A child or an animal is satisfied only by getting nice food. This stage of consciousness in which the goal is to eat sumptuously is called Annamaya. Anna means food.
Okay, so this is, as Shil Prabhupada is explaining in this purport, that it is one level of realization of the Supreme. Okay, so the Supreme is in Anna. That means there is no higher realization than that. That is the meaning. There is no higher realization than that. So, as it said, one eats to live or lives to eat. So it depends. So you can see, as the example is given of a child. What does a child do? Yes. Anything he sees, he puts in the mouth. Because that is how he realizes everything. By tasting. So that is his level of realization. So he thinks everything is meant to be put in the mouth, and then one can realize what it is by the tongue. And animals also. The only thing animals are looking for from morning to night, the only thing the animals are doing is food. So that is a low level of consciousness. One step higher is pranamay. Okay, read.
Pranamay. After this, one lives in the consciousness of being alive. If one can continue his life without being attacked or destroyed, one thinks himself happy. This stage is called pranamay, or consciousness of one's existence.
Okay, so pranamay, maintaining one's prana. So if one can somehow maintain one's prana, then one thinks life, I'm successful in life. So that is a little higher level of realization. Not just food, but okay, maintaining one's prana. And so Shil Prabhupada also explains in his purport, in his lectures, that how even a small ant, if ant is moving and you put your finger in front of the ant, what does the ant do? Yes. So somehow it wants to save its life. So every living entity considers his own life very precious. And so therefore we find everyone is struggling to be alive. And all living entities, you can see that. All living entities. They're all struggling to keep themselves alive. And you may have seen in various videos or whatever, how in the jungle, all the animals, each animal wants to be alive. So Prabhupada in his lectures, he says, Darwin had this theory of survival of the fittest. But then Prabhupada says, nobody survives.
Everybody has to die.
Yes. Nobody survives ultimately. But you find the struggle for existence, basically. That is the struggle to survive. And Shil Prabhupada in his lectures, he talks about how two things Prabhupada says. One thing is he quotes this Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti muke mriga. Nahi suptasya simhasya. Even the simha, the lion, if he simply lies down and keep his mouth open, his prey is not going to enter into the mouth. No. So he has to struggle to get his food. And Prabhupada says sometimes the lion, he kills one animal like a deer or something. And that same thing he keeps for some 10 days and keeps on eating the same thing because he doesn't get. Even though he's the king of the jungle, he doesn't get food so easily. He also has to work hard to get food and keep himself alive. Another example Prabhupada gives is about the tiger. So as soon as the tiger comes out to hunt for an animal, what happens? Okay, all the animals run away. But there is another reason why all the other animals run away. Yes, there is a small bird which sits on the tiger's back and makes a sound. So all the other animals understand that language of that bird. And the bird is making an announcement. What announcement is making? Tiger is out, tiger is out. तो सब भाग जाते हैं. So now the tiger is so angry on the bird The bird is so small, this tiger is so huge, he can finish off the bird in one shot. But what's the problem? पहुंचता नहीं हाथ. You see how Prakriti makes everyone humble. Such a powerful tiger, but he can't do anything. The small bird is troubling. And he's frustrated because there are no animals, everyone runs away. So, in this way, everyone is struggling to maintain one's prana. So, this is pranamai. And so, human beings also, then, especially in the present age, then basically only these two things are happening basically Annamaya and Pranamaya. Somehow get food and remain alive. That's all. How to avoid disease, go to the hospital, and somehow try to remain alive. Third is Manomay or Gyanmay. Read.
Manomay, last. Na? After this stage, when one is situated on the mental platform, that consciousness is called Manomay.
So, mental platform. So, what are the functions of the mind? Yes, thinking, feeling, willing. So, here on the Manomay or Gyanmay platform, at least one begins to think. He begins to think, what is the goal of life? What am I supposed to do? So, at least there is some thinking. Or as Prabhupada says over here, that is in the Jnanamay, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. So that means at least there is some thinking. So you can see as the Sattva gun increases, then a person begins to think. What is the goal of my life? What am I supposed to do? And then at least there is some search for what is the truth. So that is Jnanmay. So there's some Jnan. Okay, continue.
The material civilization is primarily situated in these three stages, Annamaya, Pranmaya, and Manomaya. The first concern of civilized persons is economic development. The next concern is defense against being annihilated. And the next consciousness is mental speculation, the philosophical approach to the values of the life.
So you can see these days, most people are simply Annamaya and Pranamaya. Manomaya, philosophy, how many people are interested? Very few. But that is Jnanamaya. Then
Vijnanamaya, if by the evolutionary process of philosophical life one happens to reach the platform of intellectual life and understand that he is not this material body, but is a spirit soul, one is situated in the Vijnanamaya stage.
Right, as Prabhupada writes here, then there is Brahman realization called Vijnanmaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. So on the Vijnanmaya platform, he understands that I am spirit soul, different from this body. So that is Vijnanmaya. And then finally, there is Anandmaya stage.
Anandmaya stage. Then by evolution of spiritual life, he comes to understand the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Soul. When one develops his relationship with him and executes devotional service, that stage of life is called Krishna consciousness, the Anandamaya stage.
Okay, so then that's one has a full understanding of who am I, who is the Supreme Lord, what's my relationship. So that's the Anandamaya stage. So these are different levels of realization of the Supreme. Okay, they're all different levels of realization. And so it depends on every individual. And because this is all in relationship to Kshetra and Kshetragya that is being described over here. So what is the realization of the Kshetragya, the Jivatma, in relationship to the body, in relationship to the Supreme Lord? So these are different levels of realization. Okay. So this is from the prayers of the persona. So here we find that how Krishna is referring to Sadhu and Shastra. Correct? He is playing the role of Guru and he's giving references to Sadhu and Shastra. So we're going to do a little small group activity. So what would happen if So we are not taking the other three. Other three are, it's almost like, it becomes too much permutation combination. So we'll take only these three. But in any case, we'll make 6 groups. कितने लोग हैं आज? So ठीक है, 3 groups. ठीक है, 3 groups. 4.
So we at
But-
Hinjawadi 3 are here together in a room. We can also discuss.
So you can make one group there, no problem.
Yes, please.
So for those who are online, you have all 3.
Oh, great.
All 3 questions are for those who are online. Okay, बनाओ 3 group यहाँ. So the question is what? What would happen if? What would happen if we accepted only Guru without others, only Sadhu without others, only Shastra without others? Okay, so Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Sadhu is there. Okay, 5 minutes.
What happens if only? Same ही आएगा. गुरु भी डिबेट हो सकता है ना. बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स हैं. हम यूनिक मारना है. मारना नहीं बताना है. मारो ना सबसे. मारते रहते हैं. बहुत सारे एग्जांपल हैं. भक्ति ठाकुर टाइम पे. देखो इसमें क्या है? लीन साधु किया मतलब नहीं हमने दूसरे कंसल्ट किया नहीं शास्त्र दोनों.
So here sadhu refers to bona fide sadhus, huh? Not dadi wala sadhu. Guru means one's own spiritual master, no? Sadhu means others.
देखो पहला ये हो सकता है शादी तो ग्रुप की जब ग्रुप हमारा बन जाएगा वो जो कहेगा भेड़ पकड़ी जाता है एक भेड़ गया तो हो सकता है दैट इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी सेम बोना फाइड में भी तो बट बोना फाइड पर्सन है बट ही कैन आल्सो गिव ओनली हिज इन ना हां ऐसा ही क्योंकि उसको पता है ये लोग नहीं शास्त्र को जानते नहीं उसमें को जानता पॉजिटिव पॉइंट ही आ रहा है नेगेटिव पॉइंट पॉजिटिव बोल सकते हो कुछ लिखा नहीं कि नेगेटिव बोल रहा है ओनली नेगेटिव का प्रॉब्लम क्या है कुछ गिवन ऑल्टरनेटिव साधु भी तो गड़बड़ हो सकता है फ्यूचर करके ये बोल रहे थे कि साधु जो है बस ज्ञान देता है नॉट कनेक्टेड विथ योर गुरु परंपरा क्योंकि गुरु जो है वो गुरु परंपरा से ऑल्टरनेटिव साधु लिखी लिखो है तो फॉलो हो जाएगा ठीक है माइंड हमारे राइटर साहब ये सब जगह राइट करते हैं बोर्ड पे बोर्ड को पहला क्या लिखना है लेकिन कुछ ग्रुप ने नहीं हो फिलोसॉफिकल से रिलेटेड नहीं है.
Or if you want to be a little more specific, you can say Guru refers to Diksha Guru, Sadhus refers to other Shiksha Gurus.
No one to personally have not developed submission. हाँ वो personally वो रहेगा not develop submit surrender so मैंने शिक्षा गुरु को
Submission and
surrender.
he will be confused because very sadhu
Chances and one will be
chance of friction.
chance of bewilderment of tattva. Bewilderment of tattva. बहु शास्त्र बहु वाक नित्य करिए ब्रह्म.
And bewilderment of bewilderment of
तत्व actual truth तत्व actual truth. बिकॉज बहुत लोग अलग अलग बोलेंगे ना 10 लोग ऐसे बैठ के सुनते हैं वोट बक पकड़ा जाएगा फ्रीडम है उसको misuse of
and he will not able to follow one mode because many
मोड में
sadhus different
misuse of freedom हो गया ना वही
एक ही but साधु मतलब एक ही साधु नहीं बहुत गुरु मतलब एक ही
हाँ वो भी लिख सकते हैं नॉट कमिट टू वन परंपरा बोनाफाइड टू चार परंपरा बोनाफाइड चीज है हो सकता है
Question है
आएगा क्योंकि ना डिटेल चेंज होते हैं प्रिंसिपल सेम है डिटेल चेंज होते हैं
नहीं भैया
अभी बताओ एग्जांपल बताओ जीवा फॉल डाउन हो गया जीवा का फॉल डाउन अलग अलग सुंदर वाले लोग अलग सब पता नहीं
आप नहीं समझ
फिर क्या नहीं फिर तो हम लोग भी अथॉरिटी में भी कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं ना सिंपल पर तत्व शिव तत्व में कितना कंफ्यूज
ठीक है हम बोला
ठीक है तत्व लिख सकते हैं फिलोसफी लिख सकते हैं तत्व नहीं फिलोसफी अरे हमको ठीक आप बताइए आप पॉइंट बताइए आप कुछ बताइए पॉइंट नाम नहीं लिख रहा क्या वन टू वन कनेक्शन नहीं हो पाएगा हम बोलिए ना ऑलरेडी सबमिशन सेंटर नहीं होगा वही तो लिख फर्स्ट पॉइंट वही है सबमिशन सरेंडर नहीं होता उसका
कनेक्शन विद गुरु परंपरा
शास्त्र से क्या बेनिफिट सिर्फ साधु शास्त्र नहीं पढ़ा लिमिटेड नॉलेज पता नहीं वो भी एक ना लिमिटेड सब देख सकते हैं अगर शास्त्र नहीं पढ़ा आपने कुछ शास्त्र नहीं पढ़ा साधु से सुना क्या प्रॉब्लम
हाँ
और ऑथराइज साधु
वही प्रॉब्लम ज्यादा चालू
That is the problem. Point. Click on the point. That's the point. Different point of views.
too many he has too many objects
ये अपना
आपको ले ही नहीं रहा ये लोग एक ही गुरु स्वीकार कर जल्दी हो
हमारे तो दो साधु दोनों वाइट में हम क्या
शास्त्र भी बहुत सारा है बहुत शास्त्र
बोलो साधु
लास्ट मिनट
मिनट्स में तो लास्ट मिनट
नॉट एबल टू
वो तो पॉइंट अलग अलग रसा हो गया किसी की अगर चार साधु लोग हैं सबका रसा अलग है जगत महाप्रभु का रसा उसका रसा अलग तो विल नॉट एबल टू बी ना वन उसमें भी इसके ऊपर कनेक्ट होगा भगवान से बोल के पूरा
always he is always in doubt because एक को फॉलो नहीं कर रहा
उसका गोल फिक्स रहेगा राधा कृष्ण ऐसे विष्णु नारायण है कि
जब चाहे
क्या जब करो
हाँ whatever
जब मन करे
इसको जो अच्छा था वही लेगा
इंडिपेंडेंट विद डाउट
is always in doubt
इंडिपेंडेंट मेंटल जब उसका मूड एक्सिस्ट मन मर्जी भक्ति करेगा मन भर के भक्ति नहीं सबका मूड अलग अलग होता है इंडिपेंडेंट भक्ति को पाते हुए कल्पते इंडिपेंडेंट मोड इंडिपेंडेंट डांसेस ऑफ बिकमिंग हो गया सिद्धांत ये सब कौन बोलने वाला है तो बोलेंगे माइक पे दो ठीक है बहुत हो गया तो उनका राइट राइट टीचर इधर ऑलरेडी मैंने लिख दिया अशोक प्रोटी हां कोई ना
सुधांशु प्रभु
ठीक है हम ऑनलाइन से शुरू करेंगे
माइक में बोलना
Hare Krishna. Okay, so online devotees. So please tell your points. One point. Only Guru. What will happen if we accept only Guru?
So Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Huh.
So there can be deviation once Guru left this world. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
So if we accept only Guru without others, without Sadhu and Shastra, so once Guru leave this world, there can be deviation and many groups can be formed and
Okay,
they...
fine. Okay, so if Guru leaves, then there can be deviations. Yes, if Guru leaves, either leaves the movement or leaves the planet, whatever way. So that is only Guru.
if for only Guru, if the Guru falls down, then he will not have no other shelter, and he may stop practice of bhakti, or he may become critical of bhakti as well.
Okay, fine. So no other shelter. No other shelter.
Also, Praji, this if we just think about Guru's instructions, only once Guru's instruction and not take care of the, like, not read the scripture and hear from other sadhus, then we may come to a fanatical approach. Like, I mean, Guru may kind of emphasize on certain principles which are also important, but other principles are also as equally important. So we may become more fanatic in our approach.
Okay, fanatic. Okay, fine. Enough online now.
Prabhuji, one more point. Personality cult would be there.
So we will take from other groups. Okay, fine. So from here.
Guruji, that Guru himself can make the announcement that I am ultimate. All the practices that should be followed by the society. So then Krishna won't be pleased by that. Because that Guru, there is no other scriptures or any authority. So based on that, Guru is making the announcement, I am ultimate. Idealist. So in this way, he cheats the society.
Yes, so it's his own ideology. So then he is cheating the people. It could be cheating. Good handwriting.
So slowly, like, God will be replaced by Guru only.
Then what will be the result?
So then, if Guru is not powerful enough, then all the followers fall down.
Okay, fine. So replace God.
Means Guru will become God future.
Yeah. Then so it's my God. Only Guru. Swami becomes Narayan.
Me or mine. Me and mine.
सुधांशु प्रभु जी का आवाज बहुत कम आ रहा है। प्रभु जी का आवाज नहीं आ रहा है जब वो कुछ तो फीबल वो आ रहे हैं।
Prabhuji is not on mic. He's just noting down the points of different.
वो क्या बोर्ड भी नहीं दिख रहा है ना वो।
Actually, there is no God and me and mine.
हरे कृष्ण। हाँ, तो आपका क्या पॉइंट है मी एंड माइंड?
Guru may think actually there is no any shelter. I am all in all.
Okay, so only shelter, only shelter. वही है ना, only shelter, no other shelter.
Prabhuji, that many incorrect principles will take hold on individual and society level.
Yeah. Okay, so that means if the guru is propagating some wrong things, so then everyone gets influenced by that, and then there is nobody to correct. So, so that means so some wrong principles or wrong philosophies could be propagated. Wrong philosophies or ideologies, wrong philosophies could be propagated.
And Prabhuji, imitation of gurus, improper activities will take place.
Okay, there could be some imitation of the guru.
Anybody can become guru then.
Why?
Because there are no qualifications for guru. So anybody can become.
Yes, so anyone can proclaim himself to be guru. Because there's no check and balance system. So anybody can say,
So, and eventually like it will be yoga bhrashta vijayate.
yes. So basically the right philosophy will be lost.
Prabhuji, if guru fall down, all followers also fall down.
That okay.
And,
Okay, fine. Or kuch hai?
Everybody follows guru's manodharma.
Okay, same thing. Wrong philosophy. Okay, fine. Next. Only sadhu. Only sadhu. Okay, first online sadhus. Online only sadhu.
Guruji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guruji.
Guruji, because it's here only to sadhu, because he's not
are fighting online.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible, Guruji?
Yes.
But if we hear only to a sadhu, because he's not taking the onus of our spiritual life, if he says something which is contrary to our guru's instruction, and then if we follow that and guru is not pleased, then we are not going to please.
So one is accepting only sadhu.
That's what. Only sadhu.
Only
sadhu.
Sadhu hi hai.
But he's already having
no
a guru.
No shastra.
No guru, no shastra completely.
Somebody else? What will happen if one accepts only sadhu?
Prabhuji, how we will know that what kind of sadhu is? From scriptures only we can judge the sadhu, right?
Anyone can see. Yeah, cheating will go.
Okay, so that means one will not be able, can't identify bona fide sadhu because there is no criteria to decide whether he is bona fide. So one cannot identify bona fide sadhu. No identification criteria. Okay, what else?
Similar to point in the sadhu, like
Suna
guru,
hai tera.
that similarly to what we heard about guru, that if there is only guru, then what happens? Similarly, if only sadhu, then multiple manodharma would be there. So people would be confused in society. There would be a chaos, what to do, what not to do.
Okay, so different sadhus, different philosophies, there'll be confusion. Okay, so one only accepts sadhus, different sadhus say different things. Then confusion.
Then sadhu may loot also people in their sadhu dress.
For what he'll loot, Baba?
Money and everything, because people will not know that, is he really sadhu inside that sadhu cloth?
Okay, nowadays, of course, we are talking about bona fide sadhus.
Okay.
We are not talking about looting sadhus.
The same thing, Broji. If that bona fide sadhu, if he gets deviated, then this follower of that sadhu will have nothing else to do.
Okay, fine. So followers also could get, okay, if the sadhu deviates, then the followers also could get deviated. Okay, fine. So actually, this is something similar to the Ritviks, right? So the Ritviks are only accepting sadhu. Of course, they're accepting Prabhupada as guru, but he's not living guru. So in yes, in one sense, it's only sadhu actually. Yes, because we accept Prabhupada as Shiksha Guru. He's not a living guru.
But their blasphemy of other gurus is something very critical.
What?
I'm telling you, in that Ritvik's case, their blasphemy, if they accept Prabhupada, it's not such big deviation, but their criticism of existing gurus is like biggest.
Right. So then, okay, so one sadhu can criticize other sadhus.
Yeah, yes.
So there could be criticism, blasphemy of other sadhus. Okay, enough online here.
So, because he is just listening from different sadhus, so there will be no submission and surrender to the.
Yes, this is very important. This is very important. So there is no submission and accountability. Accountability. No submission and accountability. Because, okay, I'm following sadhus, okay, fine. But there is no accountability to anyone.
Also, because he is hearing from many, so the mood of the different sadhu is different. So he will not able to follow one, and he will always confused and frustrated, not able to follow the one path. That is different philosophies.
Okay,
different
okay,
mode.
fine, okay. Different moods. Different moods leading to confusions, frustration. Okay, no fixed goal. Oh yes, Sadhu.
There won't be any connection established to parampara, because to establish connection, guru is required. The sadhu he can't establish.
Okay, so no diksha connection. But there also has to be diksha.
There has to be another personal
So
instruction.
shiksha connection is there, but diksha is equally important. Why? So if somebody asks you why diksha connection also is important? Prabhupada Saraswati Maharaj also was saying, no? Diksha connection also required. If somebody says why?
Formal acceptance of guru. He should accept.
Okay, so, no, somebody can say shiksha also will take one back to God. In fact, shiksha is the main thing which takes one back to God.
Hare Krishna, Broji.
Huh?
Broji, formal acceptance of guru should be there. That one sadhu or guru has accepted you formally that you are my.
Okay, but that you are saying, I don't accept.
Did not get, Broji, sorry.
Shastra it is said, and Lord himself accepted.
Which Shastra?
You take any Shastra, Broji.
This is the problem.
Bhagavad Gita also Krishna is saying.
The only sadhu, that is the problem. Only sadhu, no Shastra. Any Shastra.
Broji, Bhagavatam says, Acharya mam bijaniyan,
Bhagavad Gita it is
mamanyet
said.
karichet.
Tadviti pranipatena pravashna seva. Bhagavad Gita it is said.
No, but see, Tadviti Pranipatena is not specifically talking about Diksha.
Broji, Hare Krishna.
Chaitan Charitamrita it is there. Diksha kale guru kare, Shiksha kare atma samarpan, Sei kale guru kare atma sam. Like Krishna kare atma sam.
Okay, okay, so, okay, that's one.
In that class also, one discussion came because Krishna himself accepted gurus and took Diksha, so that's why this is very important.
Okay, Krishna did set the example. Okay, fine. That's
Broji, actually, technically, Diksha is like शिक्षा का epitome is Diksha. Once you take Shiksha from someone,
which book Prabhupada said is our law book?
anybody?
Yes, Nectar of Devotion. So there Rupa Goswami very clearly mentions right in the beginning. Yes. Dikshadi, there is Diksha. One has to accept Diksha from the spiritual master. So Rupa Goswami makes it very clear right in the beginning. Okay, fine. Okay, that's enough. Ho gaya? Huh.
There is no personal instruction or no personal guidance for purification, direction.
Well, sadhus can give. Sadhus can give instruction, no? They can give instruction, they can give guidance.
So there is good chance to become independent because
Why?
he's not listening one sadhu. Is many sadhu.
Okay, fine. So that's
Ultimately, he
what? No
becomes.
accountability. No accountability. No accountability. So he's accepting different instructions. So, okay, fine. Only Shastra. Online. Only Shastra.
Guruji, only Shastra, there are so many literatures. So many literatures speak of so many things. And then we think the highest thing, because there is matter, there is material part of scriptures also. There is spiritual part also. There are so many varieties in each of the parts.
So what's the final result?
Result is like he will not be able to conclude which is what is the high, what
Okay,
exactly.
confusion, no goal, no goal, lot of confusion.
Guruji, we cannot get Krishna only by reading Shastra, because Krishna says, you can achieve me only through my devotees.
Okay, fine, good points. So
Guruji,
Shastra itself says one needs to surrender to Guru, tadvidi pranipatina. So therefore, simply by reading Shastra, one cannot.
Guruji, one more point is that if somebody only follows the Shastra, then he basically what will happen is he may may not understand how to apply those Shastric principles in his daily life, because he's not directly because Shastras may
Correct.
talk about different principles, how to
Okay,
apply
yes.
them.
May not be able to apply the Shastric principles.
Yeah.
You may know the Shastra, but may not know how to apply them.
And also to adjust, when not to. What?
Yes, of course, that comes with an application. Okay, application, adjustment, according to time, place, circumstances. So understanding all that.
Cannot
Lots
have
of
any
application. Application of Shastric principles according to time, place, circumstances.
You don't have QA with Shastras. Shastra के साथ QA नहीं हो सकता.
क्या?
Question and answer.
Hey, इतना short form क्यों use करने का?
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So that's the problem with only Shastra, then lot of word jugglery.
Prabhuji, one more point from online.
Okay, last point online.
So individual can read.
Wait. Here, no question answers. No inquiry. Bolo?
Prabhuji, individual can read the scriptures. The Vedic literatures are vast, and he can concoct his own philosophy and create the one.
Okay, mental concoctions, interpretations or the misinterpretations.
May I share
Okay,
one?
okay, enough online here. Bolo?
People may misinterpret Shastra and use for their own personal benefit. Example, killing of the animals.
Okay, misinterpretation for one's own benefit. Misinterpretation one's own. Okay.
Vedas are so vast that one sloka that both Shastra kare. When we go on studying, we may go on like that, even in mental speed. But we cannot reach to the Lord.
Okay, so not reaching the goal or the conclusion. Not reaching goal. Okay, no goal.
And it will take a lot of time to find the real conclusion. And lifespan is very short.
Okay. Lot of time. Time consuming. उनको दे दो प्रशांत को दो.
Like if there is only Shastras, after some time the Shastric knowledge will not find, because Guru and Sadhu will take the parampara ahead.
Right. So the shastric knowledge itself may deteriorate or maybe lost because there's no parampara to continue.
Only shastras are there, then it will be difficult to understand whether I am really going towards goal or not. Basically, advancement I am making or not, it's very difficult.
Okay, so basically there is no so basically one will not be able to check one's practices. Yes, no guidance. One cannot one's practices cannot be checked. हाँ
Prabhuji, we
आप कुछ
cannot.
बोलिए अशोक प्रभु? एक पॉइंट तो बोलिए.
Prabhuji online.
हो गया? ठीक है. हाँ आपका क्या पॉइंट है?
One read only Shastra, then one become proud, and there is no one to check his humility, means no one to correct him.
Okay, yes. So one could become proud of one's scholarship.
आपसे सीखा प्रभु, आपसे सीखा.
हाँ.
Living example is also required. I mean, the sadhu. So we can see, I mean, living
Okay.
sadhu, Bhagavad.
Okay, living
And
example.
second is that we should have the knowledge of Sanskrit language also. Sanskrit knowledge also required.
Okay, so you mean to say that's a disadvantage?
What?
You're saying that's a disadvantage. One has to have knowledge of Sanskrit.
Yeah.
In order to...
If I don't have the knowledge of Sanskrit, how can I understand?
Okay, so then you cannot read Shastra. Okay, so knowledge of Sanskrit will be required.
Many Supreme Lord, like Shiv Puran says.
Okay. Okay, confusions as to who is supreme. Okay, and we're more specific. Right, so confusion as to who is supreme because different Shastras. Unko de do.
Prabhuji, in the parampara, this knowledge comes in the like a chain system. So there is no deviations or there is one's interpretation. So if this parampara is not there, so knowledge will take in many parts.
Okay, so deviations. Okay. Okay, fine. So that's enough. Okay, so thank you very much. So these could be the various effects. And therefore, Krishna himself is following the system. Krishna himself is following the system. Okay, so he is acting like Guru, but is giving reference to Sadhu and Shastra. Rishibir, Chandobi. So that is how Krishna himself is following the system. So therefore, we also need to follow the system. Hare Krishna, time for break. Hare Krishna. So the conclusion is we have to follow in the footsteps of Krishna and have a check and balance system of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Okay. Now going to the 6th and 7th verses. As Krishna told in the 4th verse, he's going to give some more details about Kshetra and Kshetragya. So that is what he's describing in the 6th and 7th verses. Mahabhutanyahangkaro buddhiravyaktameva cha indriyani dashaikam cha panchachendriya gocharaha ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghataschetana etat kshetram samasena savikaram udharatam. The 5 great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind. The five sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. So basically here the Lord is describing, as he said in the fourth verse, he is describing what? Yadrik and Vikari. Yadrik and Vikari. Yadrik is constitution. So the sixth verse is describing the constitution, and the seventh verse is describing Vikari. So, the constitution, in the constitution there is first of all Mahabhutani. What is Mahabhutani? Yes, the Panch Mahabhut, the five gross elements. So this is constitution of the Kshetra that's being discussed, constitution of the Kshetra. So the five gross elements, Mahabhutani. Then Ahankara, Buddhi. So we know Ahankara is false ego, Buddhi is intelligence. Okay. So till now, how many elements we have counted? 7. Okay. Then Indriyani Dashekam. What is this? 5. 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and mind. Dashekam. Dashekam means 11. So, and the mind. And then there is Pancha Indriya Gochara. That refers to sense objects, tanmatras. Sense objects are sparsha, gandha, and all those 5 sense objects. So total kitna ho gaya? 5. In the first line there is 5 and 2, 7. So 16, 16 plus 7, 23. Right? So 23 elements. And what is the 24th element? Yes, avyaktam. Avyaktam, the unmanifest, which refers to the pradhan. So in this way, there are total of 24 elements. And you can see that Prabhupada is writing that in the purport. The aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activity. If one makes an analytical study of these 24 subjects, then he can very well understand the field of activity. Then the 7th verse is describing Vikari, the changes. So the Vikari changes can be on the gross platform and on the subtle platform. So on the gross platform, how many changes are there? 6 changes. Everyone knows? Birth, growth, then maintenance, byproducts, dwindling, and death. So those are changes of gross body. Here Krishna is describing the changes within subtle body. Vikari in the subtle body. Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham, Chetana, Driti. 6 changes he is describing. These are changes in the subtle body. So there's desire, hatred, happiness, distress. Here Chetana refers to the contaminated consciousness, material consciousness. So here Chetana does not refer to the consciousness which is a symptom of the soul. No, that is not being, this is within the subtle body. So this is referring to the contaminated consciousness of the mind, the material consciousness of the mind. And Dhriti, determination, conviction, which essentially is a function of, determination is a function of intelligence. So these are changes within subtle body. So in this way, Krishna has described about Kshetra and Kshetragya. Okay, let's read this.
In this verse, the nature of the field is described. Mahabhutani refers to the ether, air, fire, water, and earth. Ankara refers to false ego, the cause of Mahabhutas. Buddhi refers to Mahat Tattva, composed of Vijnana, the cause of Ahankar.
Okay, so here he is giving a different meaning of buddhi. So, of course, Prabhupada says is intelligence, but here he says it refers to Mahatattva. Of course, the Mahatattva gives rise to everything, including buddhi. Any case, okay. So actually, if you see, everything is connected. So he says buddhi refers to Mahatattva, composed of Vijnan, the cause of Ahankar. And you see there is Ahankar. Ahankar combines with three modes, Rajagun, Tamagun, and Satugun. And that results in the formation of all the various elements, including buddhi. Okay, so he's generalized it. Okay, go ahead.
Indriyani refers to the
Avyakta refers to?
Avyakta refers to Prakriti, the cause of Mahat Tattva. Indriyani refers to 10 senses: eye, ear, nose, skin, tongue, hands, feet, genitals, anus, and voice. Eka refers to the mind. Five Indriya Gochara are the sense objects: sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. The field is made of the 24 elements.
Sangata.
Sanghata is the body, evolving from the 24 elements. Ichha, Dvesha, Sukha, and Dukkha are well known. Chetana is the mental function constituted of knowledge.
Right, so that's as we said. So Chetana refers to the function of the mind.
Dhruti is a perseverance.
Perseverance. Determination.
Ichha and other qualities mentioned in this verse are qualities of the mind, not the soul. And thus they are included in the field.
Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Okay, so what is the field composed of has been described here. Okay, continue. No. Okay, that's the end. Okay, fine. So now the next section, 8 to 12. 8 to 12, that is process of knowledge, jnanam. So Krishna has described Kshetra and Kshetragya. Now he's doing Jnana.
So the last statement that Ichha is actually qualities of mind. Actually, Ichha means a desire. Desire is actually quality of soul, no?
But see, originally the Ichha comes from the soul, but now in the conditioned state, then all further desires come from the mind. See, now in the conditioned state, in the material world, the soul is not able to function independently. The soul is empowering everything else to function. So initially the soul had the desire to enjoy independent of Krishna, and therefore the soul has come into the material world. So now in the material world, the conditioned soul, whatever desires, so basic desire is what? Sense gratification. That's desire to enjoy sense gratification only takes different forms in the material world, correct? In the material world, what is happening? Different forms of sense gratification, correct? So somebody may say, no, I'm desiring to build a big factory. For what? There's only one thing there, sense gratification. So therefore, ultimately, all desires are coming from the contaminated mind only. The soul has already made one desire, and that is what? Enjoy independent of Krishna. And so now all other subsequent desires, they're coming from the mind. Right. So basically, see, the soul is because of the presence of the soul, intelligence, mind, everything is functioning. The soul is empowering everything else to function in this material world. In the material world, soul cannot function on its own because this is foreign nature. This is foreign atmosphere for the soul. Soul cannot function without the material elements. And so when one desires to practice Krishna consciousness, so yes, so we are desiring that with the help of intelligence. By the intelligence, we are understanding why to practice Krishna consciousness. So therefore, so that intelligence is based on Shastra, and that we're using the intelligence to understand. But what is empowering the intelligence to function? The soul is empowering intelligence to function. That is how things function here. ठीक है? क्या?
The aggregate है वो क्या है aggregate?
Aggregate is pradhan. Avyaktam, na?
Avyaktam, that the unmanifested is also mentioned, and that aggregate in the later line.
So he says, this is sanghata, sanghata. In the 7th verse, the word that is used is sanghatascha, sanghatas, chetanadriti. So here he says sanghata refers to the body.
Okay.
So sanghata refers to the body. So we could say that, yes, evolving from the 24 elements. So within the 24 elements, everything is there. There are gross elements also, subtle elements also. And the combination of both gross and subtle elements is the body. That is what.
So in general, that 24 element you mentioned, Prabhuji, they are 10 senses, 5 gross element, then mind, intelligence, false ego, the unmanifested, prakriti, then the aggregate.
Here the aggregate is avyakta. Avyakta refers to, as you can see in the purport, Prabhupada talks about pradhan, in the second paragraph. The unmanifested modes of material nature are called pradhan.
Yes.
Prabhuji, question. Should I ask Prabhuji?
Bolo.
Prabhuji, when you say that the soul is foreign, soul for the environment of this material world is a foreign place for soul. So for it to function, it requires the help of mind, intelligence, and all this other setup. And now, Prabhuji, when we mean to say that because it is a foreign place where it cannot directly act, so if it takes the help, but no, are we trying to say that it's like the soul's original desire in the sense like soul has desired to come to go independent of
Can't
Krishna, and apart from that, all other reactions and all other desires which we are having right now is just that the chain of reactions getting continued, which has nothing to do with soul. After that initial chain reaction.
Yes, so initially the soul has desired to enjoy independent of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the soul has come into this material world. And so therefore now the various desires to enjoy sense gratification are all coming from the mind, intelligence. Of course,
So now, so when someone practices bhakti, or when we say that he's having self-realization or is going through the process of self-realization, no, that soul being completely aloof from these desires of this material world or actions of this material world to having reawakening its constitutional position or swarupa. Now इसके बीच में is it a 1 and 0 case कि पहले पूरा dormant था और अचानक से awaken हो गया? Does it have any transition? If that is a transition, then how that transition reflects in terms of mind and intelligence?
What?
I'm saying, Prabhuji, initially when we said that the first desire, because the jiva desired to be independent of Krishna, that is the
So
initial
what
chain.
is the precise question?
Now the question is, when we say that all these desires now what we are having is because of mind and intelligence, I'm telling someone practices spirituality or practicing bhakti, ultimately awakens his ultimately going to this process of bhakti and awakens his swarupa. Now from there, soul being completely becoming conscious in its swarupa to the current stage where it is to a stage where, let's say, to a stage where a person has not yet started bhakti, where the soul is completely dormant. इसके बीच में soul का जो awakening का what kind of relationship it has got with mind and intelligence?
You're asking
Isn't it is completely
what relationship the soul has got with mind and intelligence?
It's just in terms of progress, not relationship terms, not in the physical terms, in terms of its awakening. Like you said, अभी तो desires हमारा
Okay,
सारा
hold
mind.
on. So you go to 3rd chapter, verse 42.
1 second, baby. I just open.
So here in the second paragraph, the purport Srila Prabhupada writes, with intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem.
Well, it's fine. No, but I'm not
So, and
questioning that.
further down he says, if by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong like serpents, they'll be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated minds. So basically, yes, the soul has to use the intelligence to understand its constitutional position and then engage. And then the intelligence is what makes decisions, right? So the intelligence is going to make decisions to engage the mind and senses in Krishna service.
Yes, sir.
And that's how finally intelligence, mind, senses, everything is engaged in Krishna service. And then when everything is engaged in Krishna service, they all become purified. And then the soul is purified of the material contamination which is covering it. So
Okay.
basically, see, what is the symptom of the soul?
Consciousness.
Yes, the consciousness. The consciousness is a symptom of the soul.
Yes.
And so now that consciousness is contaminated by so many material desires.
Yes, yes, bro.
And so by engaging the mind and intelligence in Krishna's service, it is basically the consciousness that gets purified. And
Yeah.
that's how ultimately the soul is released from material bondage. Okay. That's all we can, at least that's what I can explain.
Yes, yes, bro.
So if you can give better explanation, you can tell.
Guruji, just like
Who
in,
brought me?
yes, yes.
You can ask later.
Yes.
What's your
in seventh verse, which mentioned about the changes that are taking place, Bikari, how the life symptoms is coming under that.
Kahan life symptom? Chetana. So that's what we said. Chetana, Prabhupada writes life symptoms, but as you can see, Vishnu Chakrakar also, what he says? Chetana is the mental function constitutive of knowledge. So Chetana here is not referring to the symptom of the soul, it is referring to the symptom of the mind, or basically it is contaminated consciousness of the mind. So that's so in this context, it's mind. It's not referring to the soul. So basically, when you say living symptoms, so those living symptoms are also a manifestation of the mind only, na? So because the mind, so it's the where is the contaminated where is the contamination? The contamination is the mind, and so therefore because it is also ultimately the consciousness is coming from the soul, but now that consciousness is contaminated. Therefore, even though living symptoms, Prabhupada is translated as living symptoms, that's also not wrong because that consciousness is coming from the soul. Yes. Okay. Now let's go to the next section, 8 to 12, the process of knowledge, that is jnanam. Let's recite all these verses. Amanitvam madambitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyam atma vinigraha indriyarteshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanudarshanam asaktirana bishvanga putradara grihadishu Nityam cha samachittatvam ishtatotpapattishu Mayi chananya yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam arati jana samsadi adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etaj jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yad ato anyatha. Okay, please read the translation.
Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even mind mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance.
First paragraph.
This process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity. But actually, this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process, then the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists. This is not the interaction of the 24 elements as described before. This is actually the means to get out of the entanglement of those elements. The embodied soul is entrapped by the body, which is casing made of the 24 elements, and the process of knowledge, as described here, is the means to get out of it. All of the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 11th verse. Mai chananya yogena bhaktir avibhicharini. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So, if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunaistattra samasate sura. All the good qualities of knowledge develop in one who has attained the stage of devotional service. The principle of accepting a spiritual master, as mentioned in the 8th verse, is essential. Even for one who takes to devotional service, it is most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, clearly states here that this process of knowledge is the actual path. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense.
One more paragraph.
As for the knowledge outlined here, the atoms may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge, who knows that he is not this body, anything, honor or dishonor, pertaining to this body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion, and consequently, sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following a religious principles and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a taste to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items.
Okay, important statements. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test, barometer, to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items. So here what Krishna is describing is 20 sadhanas. These are 20 sadhanas. For what? To come out of the kshetra. So as Prabhupada is saying, this kshetra, this body is what? It is a casing, dabba. It is like box, dabba. And what is that box made up of? 24 elements. और उसके अंदर कौन बैठा है? Soul. Kshetragya. So here what Krishna is describing is 20 sadhanas to come out of the Kshetra, to come out of this box made of the 24 elements, or as Prabhupada says, encaged. The body is like a cage and the soul is trapped within the cage. So here are 20 sadhanas by which one can come out of that cage. So this is real knowledge. Because by knowledge, what is supposed to happen? By knowledge, one should come out of the cage. That is the purpose of the knowledge. So if one says, I have so many degrees, MA, PhD, Master of Philosophy, so many degrees one has. But one does not know how to come out of the cage. What is the use? Yes. So therefore Krishna is saying, besides these 20 items, everything else is avidya. That's what he says. Etaj jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yad adho anyatha. Everything else is agyan. Not even avidya actually. Avidya also is based on Vedas. It's not avidya, it's agyan. So, and out of these 20 sadhanas, 17 of them are common to both jnanis and bhaktas. 17 of them are common to both jnanis and bhaktas. One is meant only for the bhaktas. Which one? Prabhupada is writing. Which is right? Huh? Yes. Mai chananya yogena bhakti ravya vicharini. Yes, this is meant only for devotees. And the last two are meant only for jnanis. Adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam. Yes. Accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. So these two are meant only for the jnanis. We don't do that. So we are more interested in God realization. Self-realization and God realization go together for us. And our philosophical search for the absolute truth is simply based on shrutis, by hearing. So we don't do some speculation. And so Prabhupada is defining each of these qualities. So one needs to develop these qualities by which one can be released from this body, Kshetra. So Prabhupada is giving a very classical definition of humility. And so this definition, even in the middle of the night, if somebody wakes you up, you should be able to tell. At the end of Bhakti Shastri course, so this, at least this one definition one should know. Humility means, yes, one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. See, it's very precise. See, normally satisfaction in the conditioned state comes from what? How much other person honors me. Because that gives great satisfaction to, yes, to the false ego. Because other person respects me, then my misconception that I am great is confirmed. So I'm already thinking I'm great. And when somebody glorifies me, it gets confirmed. So therefore, one is always looking for that. And one tries to mold one's life in such a way that other people will respect and give honor. Because satisfaction in the conditioned state comes from that. So then how one acts, how one behaves, how one speaks, everything one tries to mold in that way. So therefore, humility does not mean not being courageous or bold. That is not the meaning of humility. In fact, humility is courage. So just like Prabhupada, why Prabhupada spoke so boldly? Huh? Yes, because he's humble, therefore he's bold. How do you explain it? Public opinion. So Prabhupada was not concerned about public opinion. What others will think of me. No, he was presenting the truth. That's it. Therefore, Prabhupada, so many times he would say, okay, rascals, fools. And then Prabhupada would say, I'm not saying it. Krishna says it. Avajananti ma mudha. So that's what Prabhupada was very confident in what he spoke, because I'm simply presenting Shastra. That's it. I'm not here to flatter people. So therefore, one who is actually humble becomes courageous, because he's not dependent on people's opinion or whether others are going to respect me or not. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada in his lectures, he says, don't worry. You just preach and Krishna will protect. So Prabhupada in one lecture is saying that so many demons came to kill Krishna. But the result was, nobody could kill Krishna. Rather, they got killed by Krishna. So therefore, devotee need not be afraid. So therefore, one who is humble depends on Krishna. Therefore, he is courageous. But one who is not humble, then he's thinking, Arey, what this person will think? Arey, what that person will think? So then I have to mold my life. Ye kya sochega, wo kya sochega. Of course, we definitely have to be sensitive. That's another point. We definitely have to be sensitive. But not that we compromise philosophy or we compromise the truth. So this is real humility. Not to be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. So that is amanatvam. And now we will read, and so Prabhupada defines each one of them. You can read on your own. We're not reading the whole purport. But now you can read the last paragraph.
Beginning from practicing humility up to the point of realization of the supreme truth, the absolute personality of Godhead. This process is just like a staircase, beginning from the ground floor and going up to the top floor. Now, on this staircase, there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor, etc. But unless one reaches the top floor, which is understanding of Krishna, he is at a lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to complete the
Compete.
if anyone wants to compete with God and at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is not truly possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still thinks I am God because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is amanitva, humility. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord, one becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and to be convinced of this truth.
Yes, one must know and be convinced of this truth. And what is the truth? What is the truth? Yes. I am subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Jivera Swarupoi, Krishnera Nitya Das. That is the truth. And so, entire process is like a staircase. And the first step of the staircase is humility, amanitvam. And that's what Prabhupada is writing. Without humility, understanding is not truly possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. So that means to the degree one is trying to enjoy this material world, one is competing with God. Correct? And to the degree one competes with God, how one can understand God? Not possible. So therefore, to the degree one gives up the enjoying spirit, to that degree one can understand God and make progress in spiritual. Therefore, yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva mohanirmukta bhajante mam dhridavrata. So to the degree the enjoying mentality is there, then this dhridavrata does not take place. Because then one is competing with God. So therefore the first step is humility. The first step is one has to know I am subordinate to the Supreme Lord. So the more we have the rebellious nature, the more we try to enjoy independent of the Supreme Lord, then the more difficult it becomes to make progress on the spiritual path. So therefore, the first step is humility. So this is the sadhana we need to practice. So somebody may say, no. Well, the verse says, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Prabhupada is quoting here in the first paragraph. What? Yasyasti bhakti, bhagavata kinchana, sarvair gunais, tatra samasa. You just practice bhakti, all the qualities will develop. And here Prabhupada is also writing in the first paragraph, the most important is avyavicharini bhakti. If you don't have that, then all 19 items are useless. So then somebody may say, I have this one, then automatically the remaining 19 will come. Correct? If I have this one, the remaining 19 will come, right? Then why have 19? Why not only one? Okay, your point is correct. Okay, if he has the one, then he has the 19. Then Krishna should have given only one. No, why is given 19? 20. Yes, that forms the basis for other 19. So the question is, should the other 19 be practiced or no? Why? Somebody may say, I'll practice only one and the other 19 will come. You explain that. You have to give purport to your statement.
Going to say that Krishna is speaking about Ananya Bhakti and Avyabhicharina Bhakti. In our stage, it is very difficult to practice because we have contaminated mind and senses. So under the guidance, eventually we'll come to that stage. Meantime, we have to also cultivate these all qualities.
Why? Your point is correct. Why? You are saying, okay, so we are not practicing Avyabhicharina Bhakti. So in the meantime, one has to also practice others. Why? Chitru? What is that interdependence? I know we discussed in a previous class.
Basically, when we develop this quality, this will help to develop that unalloyed devotion, and unalloyed devotion will help us to develop these good qualities.
Right. So, if one is not humble, then how can one practice proper bhakti? Correct. If one does not have these qualities of amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, so just like tolerance. So if one is not tolerant, then in the association of devotees, so somebody tells me something which I cannot tolerate, then what will I do? Yes, then there'll be offenses. If there's no tolerance, there'll be offenses. And if there are offenses, can I progress in avibhicharini bhakti? No. So therefore, all the remaining 19 sadhanas, or at least 17 sadhanas, are required in order for one to practice that avibhicharini bhakti. To make one's life conducive for that avibhicharini bhakti, one has to practice as a sadhana. One needs to practice. So that means initially it is a sadhana, just like sadhana, practice, as an austerity. And then when one develops the bhakti, then all these other qualities will become natural. Then one does not have to practice them as a sadhana. Then those will become natural. But initially, till the point of time there's no avibhicharini bhakti, till that point of time, all these have to be practiced like sadhana. Then one will get jnanam. Then one can understand the Supreme Lords. Then one can make further progress. Otherwise, getting the jnanam itself in order to progress will become difficult. At the most, one will get information, but no realization. Yes, when you talk of knowledge, it's always referred to realized knowledge. Bookish knowledge is useless. Prabhupada has written that, 6.8. Only bookish knowledge is real. That does not have any meaning or doesn't have much value. Of course, it's required initially, but when jnanam is spoken of, it always refers to realized knowledge, where one is able to act on that platform. Is this point clear? Yes, Ujjwal. पीछे तो
Little off, but related to this only.
हाँ बोलो.
Application question. So, Prabhuji, we have to hear that much knowledge only that we should apply it, or we can hear more and more and let it whenever.
So why you're hearing?
For up, slowly apply. Remember the knowledge again and again.
That's correct. So we are trying to apply the knowledge, but maybe we are not able to apply everything. So you are asking, should we hear only that much what we can apply? Then somebody will say, I can't apply anything.
Repeatedly that hearing will help us to repetitive same knowledge if you hear instead of so many we are hearing, and there's no focus of one thing we are doing, like humility you stressed this much time, so it entered, but again we are discussing on other, then we'll forget about this humility.
So then then how long it will take to develop humility? Then till then you'll hear only about humility.
Some limitation, otherwise knowledge is.
So therefore, what is the basic purpose of hearing? What is the basic purpose of reading the Shastra? Okay, that's correct. Okay, you're saying by that we can develop vairagya. Okay. Huh?
Attachment.
Yes, that's correct. Ultimately, we are trying to develop attachment to Krishna. That's correct. Yes, understand Sambandha Gyan and strengthen our relationship with Krishna. And the basic purpose is purification. So I'm hearing so that I can get purified. That is the basic purpose. So it's not that I will be able to apply 100% what I'm hearing. I may be able to apply something, may not be able to apply something. I should definitely try, but it's not that only if I'm able to apply, then I will hear.
About Prabhupada also, if you see Prabhupada has stressed in most of the lecture about this basic thing, because we are not able to, he is repeating in 10 years, 12 years he has given the lecture. But in most of the lecture, he is coming to that same point. that relationship about God, then we are not this body, soul, and all that. Conclusion is same. So he's limiting his the whatever he's sharing. There are so much thing he can share. He knows so many pastime, many things, but he's limiting.
No, it does not mean that Prabhupada is not talking about other things also. Prabhupada is talking about so many other things also. It's not that every lecture is speaking only about body and soul. He's speaking so many other things also based upon the verse. So of course, agreed, he focuses on the basics. But within those basics also, he speaks so many things. Correct?
Repetition, something is repeated.
So therefore, as far as we are concerned, our limitation, if you are asking about limitation, then our limitation is Prabhupada books. And as Prabhupada emphasized, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. So these books we can read and hear Prabhupada lectures. That is good enough.
One question I was having from so many times. Actually, Prabhupada will be there more, like he's 82 years he was here. If he was going to live more, then he surely have written more books. He have completed Bhagavatam, will be completed NOT sloka by sloka. Like that, many books that our Acharya has written. So then it will have more we can read and all that, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
So if Prabhupada is not written now, but there are Acharyas.
But still, Prabhupada within his books, he has written that you just read this much and that is sufficient. Even so, okay, just to answer your question, I'll give you a reference. Okay, that's another thing. So, so open Nectar of Devotion, or maybe here folio is there. Okay, open Nectar of Devotion, chapter 7. Go to almost the end of the chapter where there is this Anga of Bhakti, not constructing too many temples, not reading too many books, and not accepting this, too many disciples. You got that?
Not accepting unfit disciples, constructing many temples, or reading many books.
Yes. Now read the first paragraph under that.
Another stricture is that a person may have many disciples, but he should not act in such a way that he will be obliged to any of them for some particular action or some favor. And one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing new temples, nor should one be enthusiastic about reading various types of books, save and except the ones that lead to advancement of devotional service.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of reading the books?
Advancement of devotional
Advancement in devotional service. Abhi aage padho.
Practically, if one very carefully reads.
Now carefully hear this statement. Practically, if one very carefully reads what?
Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and this nectar of devotion.
So that time teachings of Lord Chaitanya was there. CC was not yet translated. Now we can say CC.
That will give him sufficient knowledge to understand the science of Krishna consciousness, and one need not take the trouble of reading other books.
That will give him sufficient knowledge for what?
Krishna consciousness.
To understand the science of Krishna consciousness, make spiritual progress, one need not take the trouble of reading other books. So irrespective of whether Prabhupada would have translated other books or not, Prabhupada has already written that this much is sufficient. So see, even if Prabhupada would have written more books, would he have come back to the Nectar of Devotion and edited this? No, this statement always remains, correct? So that's what is sufficient. So therefore, and of course, it is not 4 books. How much is Bhagavatam and how much is CC? See, personally, I'm telling you very frankly and honestly, personally, I have not read Bhagavatam and CC completely. So, Prabhupada himself has said, reading all these books, one lifetime is not sufficient. So, therefore, this much is more than sufficient for spiritual advancement. And therefore, the purpose of reading is not, Prabhupada is not saying the purpose is gaining more knowledge or anything else. What is the only purpose? Spiritual advancement. That's all. That is why we are reading. That is why we are hearing. Because Prabhupada has given us these books, he wants us to read, that's why we're reading. To please Srila Prabhupada. If we please Srila Prabhupada, we make spiritual progress. And then by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, we'll be able to apply what he has given. Not that I want to read, to get information, to become big Pandit and show to the world. That's not the clear? Okay, but all this will be possible when we have the right attitudes, the right qualities. So when we have these qualities of amanitvam, madambitvam, shanti, arjam, when we have all these qualities, then we will be able to gain that knowledge, realize the knowledge, apply the knowledge. Otherwise, it will simply remain information. ठीक है? श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, संवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare. So we have discussed Kshetra, Kshetrajna and Jnanam. So 50% we have finished. Out of 6, we have finished 3. So another 3 remain. And of course, the other 3 are a little more complicated. But in any case, so we'll continue on Monday. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.